It was an ordinary afternoon in the small town of Hopeville. Children, excited, ran toward the circus that had arrived, their laughter echoing through the air. I, a curious adult, decided to accompany them. The circus had a mysterious air, with bright lights and hypnotic music. The clowns and trapeze artists were impressive, but there was something unsettling about one of the performers. He watched me with an enigmatic smile on his lips. The children were so enchanted they didn't notice. The atmosphere shifted as the sun set, and the music grew darker. Suddenly, the lights started flickering and the laughter turned into screams of terror. A heavy silence fell, and I realized the children were disappearing, one by one, into the spreading smoke. My heart pounded as I searched for my child. Then I spotted a group of kids in a dark corner, seemingly hypnotized. I shouted, but my words echoed unanswered. The enigmatic performer approached, his eyes shining disturbingly. He whispered something unintelligible, but my instinct told me to run. Tension mounted as the smoke grew denser. I had to rescue my son. Each step increased my desperation. Confronting the performer, I realized he was not human, but a shadow feeding on children's fear. I finally pulled my son out of the trap. We fled, and when I looked back, the circus seemed to fade as if it had never existed. What had happened to the other children? That laughter haunting the night still chases me. It was a calm afternoon in Hopeville, and everything seemed normal. I was there for a new work project, a move that brought me to this quiet, small town. With red brick houses and cobblestone streets, the place felt nostalgic yet secluded. The wind gently blew, rustling leaves, as I watched children playing in the park, their laughter echoing in an oddly unsettling silence. I was in my 30s, an architect seeking new opportunities and a bit of peace. What I didn't expect was to find, behind the lines of this calm place, a void that seemed to extend beyond the tranquil streets. The houses, though well-kept, had a solemn look, with curtains always drawn as if the residents were shielding themselves from the outside world. As I walked, I couldn't help noticing people avoiding eye contact, hurrying through their routines, carrying an invisible burden. I tried to adapt, but a feeling that something was off settled in my chest, like the town was hiding secrets too afraid to share. It wasn't fear exactly, but a subtle unease that took hold of me. That afternoon, seeing the children rush toward the new circus in town, memories of how I once yearned for adventure as a child resurfaced. My curiosity pushed me to tag along, despite a faint inner warning to stay away. The circus stood visible, its vibrant colors and the sweet scent of popcorn in the air, and I wondered if this was where I'd find the change I craved, or if I was about to face something beyond my understanding. Walking the streets of Hopeville, the architect noticed a peculiar detail. A lamp post that had been steady began to flicker slowly, as if battling the darkness. He paused, observing its irregular pattern, but dismissed it as a malfunction. The wind carried whispers, as if the trees around him were sharing secrets, though he attributed it to imagination fueled by the circus's peculiar atmosphere. Children continued playing, laughing carefree, while he questioned if his perception was being altered by the new, enigmatic environment. The scent of popcorn and cotton candy lingered, mixed with a faint note of smoke, yet nothing seemed alarming. A skinny cat darted across the road, briefly stopping to stare at him with bright eyes in the flickering light. He averted his gaze, attributing it to coincidence. After all, in such a quiet town, what could truly go wrong? As the architect walked through Hopeville's calm streets, a strange sensation began to invade his mind. The sweet aroma of popcorn and cotton candy still hung in the air, but something was off. Suddenly, a house bell rang, a sharp tone slicing through the afternoon calm. He looked toward the house, but no one was visible. The sound echoed in his head, stirring unease he tried to ignore. Moving on, the normalcy he once felt started eroding. The thin cat appeared again on the sidewalk, staring at him. His penetrating gaze made him pause. "What's wrong with you?" he wondered, but dismissed it, convinced his imagination was at work. Meanwhile, a man appeared at the corner, wearing a worn hat and furtive look. He seemed familiar, though the architect couldn't place him. The man waved, but vanished behind a house before he could approach. A chill ran down his spine and he hastened his pace. Then a whisper, carried by the wind, sounded like his name calling. He stopped, scanning the surroundings, but only the town's silence answered. A shiver ran through him, and for the first time he felt that maybe Hopeville's tranquility was a facade. The children still played, but their laughter now seemed forced, like they were pretending everything was fine. He decided to enter a shop to distract himself. Glancing at the shelves, he froze at one item, a small toy he had given his son years ago, a gift he believed lost. How could it be here in a shop he'd never visited before? Confusion swelled, and he realized the threads of reality were weaving in unsettling ways. Meanwhile, the shop bell rang again. He turned, but no one entered. Another shiver hit. What was happening to him? The routine that had felt so stable now seemed a puzzle with mismatched pieces. He needed to understand what was going on in Hopeville before it was too late. As he walked through Hopeville's tranquil streets, the architect felt growing unease. The surrounding silence was disturbing. Suddenly, a subtle tinkle, like a bell, cut through the calm. He hesitated, but curiosity and the need to understand what was happening drove him forward. The door of a nearby house stood ajar, as if inviting him in. He took a deep breath and cautiously pushed it open. Inside it was dark and dusty, with furniture draped in white sheets, giving it a ghostly atmosphere. The air was thick and the smell of mold filled his nostrils. Exploring, he heard a faint sound from a room at the back. He followed it to find a locked door. Instinct told him something important waited behind it. He scanned the room, making sure he was unseen, and searched for something to unlock the door. In a corner, he found an old keychain on a table. Hands trembling slightly, he took it and went to the locked door. Inserting the key, he felt a chill crawl up his spine. The click felt like a warning of what lay ahead. The door creaked open, revealing a small dim room. A weak light flickered, and he saw a collection of toys, all familiar yet sinister. Among them, a doll resembling his son stared at him with hollow eyes, as if expecting him. A soft, almost inaudible whisper drifted through the air, beckoning him closer. He hesitated, but his need for the truth propelled him forward. Approaching the doll, the atmosphere shifted. The surroundings seemed to pulse, alive, and an intense cold enveloped him. He realized he was venturing down a dangerous path where reality faded and terror took shape. What he found there could change everything. Recovering from the shock of seeing the dark room, a new wave of terror washed over the architect. He felt watched. The sound of scratching on the door made him shiver. He cautiously approached and saw faint, nearly invisible small footprints in the dust. His heart raced as he wondered who had been there before him. Stepping back, he noticed the once locked door was now open, as if someone had left hastily. The tension in the air was tangible. His gaze fixed on a dark corner of the room where a weak light flickered intermittently. He ventured closer, chilled. A strange old device, which he didn't remember activating, was operating on its own, projecting distorted images on the wall. A whisper echoed, recorded, looping phrases he couldn't fully comprehend. Panic set in. He wasn't alone. Logic was slipping away, and reality had become a nightmare. The presence he sensed was real, and he needed to act fast. The architect's body went into survival mode. Every noise, every shadow felt threatening. He looked for a way out, but the room seemed to constrict around him. The certainty that the missing children were connected to this place pushed him forward, in search of answers despite the imminent danger. As the architect regained composure, terror gripped him anew. He remembered the night the circus arrived, the once joyful music turning sinister. Now shadows danced around him, and the atmosphere was dense with oppression. The whisper he heard seemed to come from all directions, and he tried to focus, but confusion overwhelmed him. A sudden sound made his heart pound. He spun around and saw a man standing in the doorway, his figure obscured by darkness. The voice, though familiar, sounded wrong. "You shouldn't be here," the man said, with a tone mixing warning and disdain. The architect tried to identify his face, but it was shrouded. "What do you want? Where are the children?" he demanded, voice trembling with fear. "Did you really think it was just a circus? That it came here by chance?" The man stepped forward, revealing malicious features. The architect felt panic rise. The idea that everything was a trap tormented him. "Why? What do you want? Alarm? Disconnected? Cameras? No recordings. You and your son were just tools. And now, well..." The man gestured to the room where the toys seemed to stare like accomplices. Paranoia grew. He realized he wasn't alone. Others were involved. The missing children might be just the beginning. "You can't do this. I won't let you take my son." The man smiled without warmth. "You have no choice. The circus has chosen. Prepare for what comes next." Tension spiked. The architect needed out. He must find his son before it was too late. The half-open door beckoned to an abyss. He raced toward it with a pounding heart, mind reeling from the revelation that the real show had only just begun. The architect looked around, feeling the oppressive silence closing in. He needed to get out, but the exit was blocked. A chill ran down his spine as he noticed debris blocking the only path he knew. Desperate, he ran back into the dark room, footsteps echoing oddly. He tried to get his phone, but the screen showed no signal. Fear intensified, no way to call for help, no one around. He was completely alone. A faint sound reached him, distorted children's laughter echoing from all directions. A cruel reminder. He crouched, trying to still his pounding chest. Silence pressed in, broken only by his breathing. A crushing vulnerability took over. He could be next. A crack to his left made him whip his head around. A shadow moved, he held his breath, trying to see. Tension mounted. Reality felt like it was unraveling. He was trapped in a nightmare, and the only escape seemed another trap. The truth he'd feared was closing in, and he had no idea how to flee. The atmosphere grew ever more oppressive. The distorted laughter continued, and the architect sensed he was being watched. He scanned his surroundings for a way out, but the shadows seemed alive, dancing with dangerous intent. Suddenly, a figure emerged from darkness, one of the circus performers. With a sinister smile and penetrating gaze, the figure advanced like a serpent poised to strike. "You can't escape what's already been decided," he whispered, voice laden with malevolent power. Instinct kicked in, and the architect turned to run. The performer's footsteps followed him, mingling with children's laughter in a chilling chorus. He sprinted down a narrow corridor, seeking escape. Objects around him shifted, as if to trap him. He vaulted over a broken toy and reached for a door. It was locked. Gasping, he turned and saw the performer nearing, eyes glowing like lanterns in the dark. "You're going nowhere," the performer declared, reaching out as if to drag him back. Then, a figure appeared behind the architect. It was one of the other parents from the circus. "Help me!" he shouted, desperate for aid. But instead of help, the man grinned treacherously. "You don't understand, do you? They are already part of the show," he said, revealing his true allegiance. The chase redoubled in intensity. The architect shoved him aside and dashed toward a window. He knew his only escape was to jump. With no thought of the fall, he hurled himself out. The cold air hit him. Vulnerability surged as his body crashed onto hard earth. No time for pain, he rose and glanced back. The performer was about to follow through the window too. He bolted into the nearby forest, heart pounding. The performer's heavy breathing echoed behind him as he felt hunted. He hid behind a tree, ears straining. The figure paused nearby, scenting the air like a predator. Holding his breath, the architect waited until the presence moved on. He crept forward, forest seeming endless. He had to keep moving. With a final burst, he crossed a small stream. Glancing back, he saw the performer vanish into darkness. Heart still racing, he paused, hearing only the wind. He'd escaped, but the circus's truth still haunted him. The missing children, his son. The fight was far from over. "I finally reached home," but relief quickly gave way to deep unease. The circus had disappeared, but what about the children? The police found nothing. No clues, no proof the malign spectacle ever existed. I wondered if that dark performer was a mind-created illusion, a shadow forged by my fear. As I tried to gather my thoughts, a new sound arose. A whisper in the air, both familiar and deeply disturbing. The living room door was locked, yet I felt as if something was about to come inside. I looked at the spot where the doll that reminded me of my son once sat, now empty and silent. The truth was, I never knew who that performer really was. I never knew if he truly vanished or if he was still lurking nearby, waiting. A chill ran over me at the thought that the circus and its shadows could return at any moment. The mystery remains, and with it the certainty that